Hey, hello, and welcome to this episode of Learn Everyday English. Hey, your roadway to English proficiency. We're back in the studio today, as you can see. Actually, my house, as you all know. Just a room in the house. And I'm going to be talking about a topic hopefully you'll find a little interesting. I'm going to be talking about Cinco de Mayo. It's a celebration that they have here in the United States. But actually, it originated in Mexico, which is kind of interesting. And Cinco de Mayo has become actually more popular here in the United States than it is in Mexico. And I'm going to go over some reasons why that is. But before I do, hey, remember to, one, like, subscribe to these videos, and hey, tell your friends so they can benefit just like you. Since I'm sure they can want to improve their English and maybe create more potential job opportunities for themselves. So when I went down to the Cinco de Mayo celebration here in the town I live in, it was about 2 weeks ago, and I took a little video of some of the performances there. They had a band playing and dancers there, so I'm going to show you some video clips, we say in English. Video clips. Clips are just like short portions of video. I did also bring my camera down there and I took some pictures. I'm going to be putting some pictures up of the Cinco de Mayo celebration. It was pretty well attended. They didn't have it last year because of the coronavirus, but I did go maybe 3 years ago. And this is an event that is sponsored by an organization called LULAC, League of United Latin American Citizens. They kind of promote, Hispanic, Mexican American culture here in the United States. They've been around for a long, long time. I'm going to touch on that a little bit. But I'm going to start off by giving you a little bit of history of Cinco de Mayo. Why is it celebrated? And why did the United States start celebrating an event that actually occurred and has its roots in history in Mexico, which is kind of a little bit odd. So I do have some notes here. Notes, which is a sheet of paper with information I'm going to be kind of looking at and reading from. But let's jump right in to today's episode. So what happened? What is Cinco de Mayo? So on July 17th, 1861, there was a president in Mexico. His name was Benito Juarez. And what happened was, this kind of an expression some people use in here in the States is, what happened was, like just basically what happened. But Mexico had been involved in some wars, and they had incurred or kind of accumulated a lot of debt. So they owed money to other countries, and these countries were France, Britain, Spain, and I guess these companies wanted their payment. But the President Benito Juarez said, hey, we're going July 17th, 1861. He said, we're going to stop payment on these debts for 2 years. We're not going to, pay these countries back for a while. So these countries got a little bit miffed, is a word we use in English, miffed, or we can say it's just upset or angry, miffed. And they formed an alliance, which alliance is just like a group of, say, people or countries coming together as one to encourage or try to get something done. But they joined an alliance to try to get Mexico to pay them back. But I think France and Britain eventually worked something out with Mexico. But Spain and Britain worked something out with Mexico. But France, whose leader at the time was Napoleon III, said, hey, this is a great time or chance or opportunity, we can benefit from this. So maybe we need to invade Mexico, and we'll establish what they would call the Second Mexican Empire. So France sent their navy. They sent a naval fleet. A fleet is just like a group of ships over to Mexico to attack Mexico, and they landed in what is now, I guess, Veracruz. And then the army started moving into Mexico, and they were getting closer and closer to Puebla, which is a city, major city in Mexico, and they were going to attack the forts of Loreto y Guadalupe. But a strange thing happened, and what happened was that the French army had more troops. Troops are just the people that are in the army. We call them troops. But the French army had more troops. They had more people. They had between 6,500 and 8,000 troops. And they attacked the Mexican army, which only had about 4,000 troops. And the French army was much better prepared. But the strange thing that happened, the Mexican army defeated the French army, or beat the French army. And this happened on May 5th, 1862. And this was a significant, or a great, we say a morale boost. Morale is like encouragement. You feel good about something. You have good morale. This was a very good morale boost. A boost is like an increase. It increased the pride, say, of the Mexican people and the Mexican army, and established a sense of national unity and patriotism. And the Battle of Puebla, and they call this battle the Battle of Puebla, and it was very significant because before, the French army was seen like an army that was undefeatable. They could not be beaten. And they had not been beaten in about 50 years, so this was quite an accomplishment for the Mexican army. And on May 9th, 1862, President Benito Juarez declared that the anniversary of the Battle of Puebla would be a national holiday regarded as Battle of Puebla Day or Battle of Cinco de Mayo. So now so that's what happened in Mexico. But the strange thing is, the United States started to celebrate Cinco de Mayo. And how did that happen? So now we're going to find out why. So in 1863, the focus in America began to kind of shift toward Cinco de Mayo. And this first started to happen in the state of California here in the United States, in response to the resistance to French rule in Mexico. So there were people here in the United States from Mexico. So they were following the events that were going on in Mexico, and they didn't like the French trying to resist and take over Mexico. So we say far up in the state of California, like in the north part of California, in a town of Columbia, now known as Columbia State Park area, there were some Mexican miners that were working. And miners are people that work underground trying to dig out, like we say, ore and metals, maybe aluminum, lead, gold, that type of thing. But they were very happy when they heard, hey, hurrah, that the Mexican army had defeated the French army. And they started to, fire off or shoot their rifles into the air in celebration. And they also lit and shot off, fireworks. And they sang patriotic songs and made speeches. So they were celebrating here in California, just like they were celebrating in Mexico. But in the 1940s, we're going to jump now to the 1940s, Cinco de Mayo started to come into vogue, we say in English, or into popularity here more and more in the United States during the rise of what we call the Chicano movement. And this was a very big movement that occurred, like I said, started in the 40s, but really didn't take off or gained momentum until the 50s and 60s, because here in the United States, there was, the African Americans, the black people here, were very oppressed, and they started to want better voting rights, rights just to live here. And the, I guess, Hispanic people saw it also as an opportunity to join forces and to use that momentum to try to advocate for or to push for better rights and working conditions here for the Hispanic people. And the word Chicano was actually kind of a negative word. It had a negative stereotype. Like stereotype is something that we use to put a label on people and to say they are like this or like that. But the Hispanic people, and specifically, I guess, the Mexican American people, or the people that were from Mexico, tried to use this negative word and turn it around and change it and turn it into something positive that they could use to fight for their rights here, for workers' rights, education rights. And they tried to tag on to or join forces that with the African American people or the black people here in the U.S. who were also advocating for better rights, education, working rights, voting rights, that type of thing. But the Chicano movement of the 1960s, like I said, was a social movement, were activists, or activists are people who are active and working into something to trying to get something done. So the people that were trying to work in the Chicano movement, we call them activists. They were trying to work to end the discrimination towards and the mistreatment of Mexican American citizens. That was their purpose or goal. But in the 1950s, like I said, the word Chicano was an insulting name for children of Mexican immigrant parents living in the United States. And also people from the U.S. used the word Chicano because they did not think Chicanos were American enough. They weren't American enough. And people from Mexico also used it because they did not believe Chicanos were Mexican enough. So that's kind of a weird situation that the Mexican American people were in. The Americans here in the U.S. didn't think they were American enough, we say, in quote unquote. But the Mexicans didn't think that they were Mexican enough, quote unquote. But after several decades of being mistreated and called names, the Mexican Americans decided to embrace. That embrace is another word for like to hug. The term Chicano as a symbol of ethnic pride. And the name was then given to the growing number of Mexican American civil rights movement. Well, the name was then given to the growing Mexican American civil rights movement of the 1960s, the Chicano movement. And the Chicano movement had various goals that they were trying to meet. And some of them are, and I'm going to list those as follows. They were trying to end discrimination and negative stereotypes against Mexican Americans. They sought to expand workers' rights. They wanted to expand or improve voting rights. They wanted to fight for educational equality and also land usage. So that's how the Chicano movement began. It began mainly in southwestern states, especially like California, Texas, and New Mexico. And the roots of the struggle, we say, ran deep. But in the 1950s and 60s, the holiday began to cross over from or move from California into other parts of the United States. But it really didn't gain popularity or become very popular until the 1980s. And you might ask, why is that? And as maybe happens in any type of holiday or festivity, there are companies and people that are always trying to make money from these events. And what happened, a lot of the beer companies, the companies that sold cerveza, said, a lot of people are celebrating, and what do people do when they celebrate? They like to drink, and they like to drink alcohol. So maybe if we promote this holiday, more people will buy more beer. And that's exactly what happened. The beer companies, we said, capitalized or took advantage on the celebratory nature, or the way that people like to celebrate this holiday, and they began to promote it to the people, and it began to become more and more popular. And we say everything began to snowball. Snowball means it becomes bigger and bigger and bigger. So it's like if you take a ball of snow, you roll it down a hill, it'll start to accumulate more snow, and the snowball will become larger and larger and larger. So here we say if something snowballs, that means it starts to become larger and larger and larger. And in a 1998 study in the Journal of American Culture, it was reported that there were more than 120 official U.S. celebrations of Cinco de Mayo in 21 different states. So you can see by the 1998, the event had become very, very popular. And by 2006, it was found that the number of official Cinco de Mayo celebrations here in the United States were 150 or more. And on June 7, 2005, the U.S. State Congress issued a resolution calling on the President of the United States to issue a proclamation calling or asking the people of the United States to go ahead, and observe Cinco de Mayo with celebrations and ceremonies. So the U.S. government was saying, hey, it's okay, celebrate this day, have fun. And to celebrate, many groups or organizations display Cinco de Mayo banners. It's become very popular at schools. They have celebrations at schools. They hold special events to educate the students about Cinco de Mayo and its historical significance. And special events and celebrations highlight Mexican culture, especially in its música, and regional dancing. And examples include, say, ballet folklórico y mariachi demonstrations. But there are also commercial interests, like I've mentioned before, say with the beer companies. In the U.S. have capitalized. Capitalize means like to take advantage of and to maybe make money from events by advertising Mexican products and services, like I said, with an emphasis on alcoholic beverages, food, and music. And according to a Nielsen survey in 2013, more than $600 million worth of beer was purchased in the U.S. for Cinco de Mayo, more than for the Super Bowl and for St. Patrick's Day. And the Super Bowl is a huge event that happens here once a year, where it's a championship playoff game for American football, and it's very, very popular. So as you can see, the amount of beer that's consumed on Cinco de Mayo is more than what is consumed during the Super Bowl. So that's kind of what happens here in the United States with Cinco de Mayo and why it became so popular. But you might be asking, well, what happens in Mexico nowadays, or right now? And like I said, Mexico doesn't really celebrate it with the vigor or the enthusiasm here in the United States. But today, the commemoration, or like the remembering of the Cinco de Mayo battle, is not observed as a national holiday in Mexico. It's not a statutory holiday. And those of you maybe that are listening from Mexico, let me know if this is right or correct, or if this information I'm going to give is correct. And leave some notes in the comments and let me know. But however, I think in Mexico, all public schools are closed nationwide on May 5th. And the day is an official holiday, though, in the state of Puebla, where the battle took place. And it's a full holiday of no work in the neighboring state of Veracruz. And in Puebla, they do have historical reenactments, which they, like actors get together, people get together and recreate the scene. They recreate the battle of Puebla. And also maybe have meals and food to commemorate or to remember the battle. So that's kind of an overall history overview, a review of what is Cinco de Mayo and why it's celebrated, what happened, and how it's celebrated here and in Mexico. So now I'm going to show you some pictures, kind of with a little audio description of kind of what we do here in the United States, or kind of a typical Cinco de Mayo celebration, what it looks like and what goes on. There are booths where people sell stuff or sell things, or you can get things, different types of food to eat. There's usually entertainment and like music and dancing. So here are some pictures and a video of the Cinco de Mayo event here in my town. Hey, well, I'm back, and I hope you enjoyed that, seeing the pictures and the video from the Cinco de Mayo Festival. And hope you're enjoying these types of videos. You're learning something new and different. And more importantly, you're improving your English and your listening comprehension as well. So again, if you like these videos, hit the like button, subscribe, and tell your friends about it. And continue watching. We're going to be bringing you some more videos like this in the studio and outside. And again, like I've been saying, I'm working on a video series on how to talk Texan, so be looking out for that. I'm still working on that. I want to make sure I put together a good quality product, something that you're going to find interesting and maybe even somewhat entertaining. But enough for today. I think I've taken enough of your time. Hey, leave some comments in the comment section if you want to tell me how you like the video. Maybe if you have ideas for any future episodes, let me know. Drop me a line, we say in English, which means just let me know. And the best way to do that is in the comment section below. And the channel is growing. I'm getting a lot of good comments from people. They like how these videos are formatted and structured. It's not just your typical, hey, let's learn some English grammar, which can be kind of a little bit dull and boring, but which is still important. I try to speak normally, but not too fast and not too slow. A lot of people said they can understand me pretty well. And the way I speak, I guess I don't have a very strong accent. It's maybe a little bit easier for you to understand. So again, keep listening and keep working on improving your English. And glad you enjoyed this episode of Learn Everyday English. Hey, until next time, have a good week, wherever you may be. Talk to you later. Goodbye.